I think a lot of mistakes people make when they're filming in their own location is and I still see it actually, I'm surprised it's not died out. They'll think, oh, we've got a plain white wall.
Yep.
We'll stand right next to the plain white wall. And it's like the corporate version of taking a photo of your kid by the door on their first day of school.
The door's better.
It's got character. The door's better.
Welcome back to the very 7th episode of the very 2nd season of BriightCast.
And we're in 7th heaven because we're joined by Dan.
Hey, hello.
Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't know, Dan takes care of pretty much all of our production and it sets up this beautiful podcast each week.
But he also keeps just finding random gear.
It feels like we're playing a computer game and Dan has like unlocked 50% of the gear we've been picking up.
Yeah, we bought loads of lighting stuff. Dan's like, yeah, but do you know it does this? We're like, we didn't know it did
Don't
that.
even know what you bought. It's
Wait,
great.
you can dim it. That's incredible.
You put it on a stand.
Yeah, and the last thing that we all shot together that you led looks beautiful. It's
Thank you very much.
all of that L&D content, that sweet L&D content, which sounds like every project we do because we do a lot of L&D content.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a niche. But,
it was a new client and a new setup. We'll get into it a bit later because we used some problem-solving new techniques there and made it look lovely.
But it looks tasty, really tasty.
Yeah, it was good.
Who'd have thought using 50 lights in a controlled studio setup would look great?
It looks great, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing when you see like the kit lined up and it's one person presenting.
Yeah.
And, it looks insane. But then when you put them side by side with, something people have self-shot or, shot on a budget.
Yeah, there's a big difference. There's lots of like small little strokes and bits and bobs that you're doing here and there to kind of like, so it's all layers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So like you just build it up from, base set, no lights and make it look good.
Yeah. And for this client, it made sense because she's pitching at such like a high level with big organizations. So it has to, the visual quality has to represent also the quality that she's given them as well. So it made sense for it. So you've been working on that most of this week in editing because you're a talented guy and you can also edit.
I know.
Which is cool.
Can press all sorts of buttons. It's great.
And then I guess you've been planning for the shoot coming up Thursday, 2 days from now.
Lots of gear, small little train. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Are you riding first class?
I'm going first class. Dan's going regular with the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all of my own.
Standard.
Yeah, little pack mule.
He's shoveling coal in the back. Nice. What you been on, Drew, this week?
So I've been doing a bit of post-production on an animated video.
Yep.
Uses some animated sections, some stock footage, some pre-recorded stuff, and it's kind of combining it all together for a client. And wouldn't normally use stock, but we're using stock in a way where it doesn't really feel super stocky.
Yeah.
So we're like manipulating it quite a lot and adding some extra motion graphics and stuff to make it look tasty.
Yeah, because you want to show quite quickly. Obviously, it's an expansive piece of software, but it's experiential. There's gamification on there.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff, with animation, you can show it and show the end user interacting with it.
Yeah.
So it was looking tasty.
Yeah.
From what I saw over your shoulder, peeking.
Yeah, cool. So how about you, Rob? What have you been on this week?
This week, finishing off campaign strategy for one client, ad strategy for another client, and found both of them, although doing it as a team and, getting other people involved, but I've been PMing these and it's found them challenging. I think sometimes breaking a campaign can be something where you get the idea really quick and it's like, oh, that's I like to come from it. I'm a visual guy from an asset. Once I know the messaging going into it because I've worked with the client on this, but once I've got like key asset, like that cornerstone piece, it unlocks everything. And just for this one, it took a while, but I got there, persevered and just lent on the team a little bit more for their input as well.
Yeah.
Just to steer it.
Yeah. I think part of the issue with the current campaign is the client kind of seemed to like something that wasn't really them.
Yeah, they liked really conflicting things. That was the problem. Yeah, they sort of got lured in by stunt marketing from someone within their field, but then they really wanted to push this service, which is very good, but it's quite dry. And so it was trying to bridge those, really. But I think we got there.
I like humor. I love I like a joke or two.
Good laugh.
Good laugh. Give me a knock joke sometime, guys. I love a bit of humor. I love a laugh with you. But at the same time, for certain things, I just want it serious. I just want a serious chat.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to buy, I don't know, like a product from somewhere, let's say, and like the salesperson is just cracking joke after joke after joke with me, rather than like telling me like specs or something like that of what I'm after.
Yeah.
I'd be like, can I speak to someone else, please? I like a joke, but come on, mate.
And it did tiptoe into that sensitive nature because it was around leaders looking inwards and identifying opportunities for improvement, basically weaknesses, and strengths and weaknesses. But you don't want to be making light of that. So it needed a bit of a deft touch. But that's all marketing nonsense, and we're production boys here. So let's get into it. What are we looking at? What are we talking about this week, Drew?
Firstly, you just revealed like gang nickname, Production Boys.
Yeah, the PBs.
We're going to get some t-shirts made for next shoot, Dan.
Every shoot,
Production Boys. We're going to be chatting about tips, video production tips, or just production tips that you'll be using in your marketing, and that we use every week.
Yeah. And I think these tips are tips we use every single week to save ourselves from sticky situations. Let's not beat around the bush. Sometimes you turn up somewhere and it's
not ideal, is it?
It's a crappy location.
Dark room, very loud.
Often the client has seen your other work, and it might be something we've had full control over in this studio. And they're like, well, that's the bar that's been set. But you've landed on location and you've got the only very 80s conference room available to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing is as well, like if you came into this room right now and weren't looking at this setup, like where we are sat, if you look elsewhere in this room, it doesn't look good.
It's not filmic.
It's not good for filming. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to dress it a lot, which is exactly what you guys had to do for that shoot we mentioned at the start.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's fine having a terrible room, but it just has to be like the scope to dress it, the scope to move things around, change things around. And I think to be able to do that, you have to know what it's going to look like before you get there.
Yeah, and you can't do that in a small room either. If you've got a little box room where you can only just get a camera, a guy, and a light in, it's not going to work. Like you need space.
Yeah. So tip one or like rule one is show us your room. Like let us see the space beforehand.
Yeah. Find out where you're filming, and because then you can make a plan for it.
Yeah, photos as well. It's great. Like I love it when you get like photos of, or multiple ones of a room.
Yeah.
So you can look in and think, oh, what can I do with this? Like, where can I put stuff? Plan ahead.
Yeah.
And also, like, if it's not going to work, you can let your client know at that point.
Yeah.
Before you get there and it's not the best it can be.
Yeah. And I think if you're looking at spaces at your place now, thinking where could we film or where could we photograph, like lots of places within it, I think just need tidying up and a little bit of dressing. Like plants or fake plants go a long way to help a space.
Yeah.
Just tidying spaces up.
Yeah. I think a lot of mistakes people make when they're filming in their own location is and I still see it actually, I'm surprised it's not died out. They'll think, oh, we've got a plain white wall.
Yeah.
We'll stand right next to the plain white wall. And it's like the corporate version of taking a photo of your kid by the door on their first day of school.
The door's better.
It's got door's better. It's got interest, visual interest. But they go so close to the wall, and then it's just a plain white wall.
There's no depth. There's nothing interesting there. First thing that we do walking in a room like that is we're in the back corner. Like always. Like if you ever see us on a shoot, you're not by the wall. Like the presenter, the subject's not even by the wall.
No.
We are by the wall, but it's the opposite one to what we're shooting. Like you want as much distance between camera and subject and background as possible.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just looks flat and kind of boring.
No, I know, and I don't know why people do it. But I think it is. They feel like in the space it's not filmic, and there's ways of doing it. So separation's great. Some of the small conference rooms we've gone to recently they've been really small, but they've had glass or the frosted glass backing.
Yeah, some sort of wall. Yeah,
and that also creates an extra layer of depth.
Yeah, well, it's just
within
like
the
it's just
camera.
different texture, isn't it? Like you've got, like I remember that. I think that one that you're talking about. There's like a blue coloured wall on one side, and then sort of a glass front to the conference room at the side. But that works really well because there's a bit of visual interest between that, isn't it? It's not all uniform.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit of difference. There's a bit of separation between them, and it just looks nice. It's not all the same.
Yeah.
It's not a plain white wall that you're backed up to. It's great.
So depth and texture then.
Yeah.
They're two things you want. You want depth and texture.
Well, we had an issue, and you mentioned it earlier. So in this room, we wanted to film for a few reasons, but mostly just availability. But in here, we've got, apart from this very us-branded wall, we've got trunking around the whole wall.
Yeah, so, very office-like. Yeah.
So it's office-like, but we've got stuff on every wall. So we had to get a bit lo-fi, but creative. So what did we do, Dan? Talk us through it.
So it was the opposite corner in this room. The first thing we did was strip everything out.
Yeah.
Give ourselves some room. The main thing was that fake brick backdrop.
Yeah.
Which didn't tick all the boxes, but it did 90% of it.
Oh, in real life, it looked rubbish. It looked the quality of it was rubbish. It was a bit of a last minute fix because of availability, but we wanted that sort of modern office look where
rustic.
We had a clean black wall, and then we wanted something like a brick, with it that felt textured.
Yeah, and we dangled that off the ceiling, and it looked great. Like to the eye, if you walked in and looked at it in person, it looked a bit bizarre. But on camera, because it was out of focus, and there's we created that depth.
Yeah,
it looked great. And on the other side, we just kind of put some other bookshelves up, put a few extra books, plants, a little practical light in there.
Yeah.
And use that to cover up the trunking because the trunking was kind of just creeping into shot, so we use that to hide it.
Yeah, we raised the presenter so it was on a stool at a
it was on like a
bar desk
bar height
as well. So that took a lot of the trunking thing out, but you could just catch a bit at the edge. So we got rid of it altogether with that positioning of it. Yeah. With those things, lighting's a consideration.
100%.
If you've got the kit we've got, take your time. We set up the day before, and it was quite an intricate setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, giving yourself the time like that really allows you to fine-tune it and make sure you get it right. Yeah. Because there's a setup that takes 2 hours and there's a setup that takes 20 minutes.
So we should probably discuss lighting a bit then. So I think what might be useful for people listening is, they won't have kit like this. What can they do to make a good lighting setup for them?
I would say, tip number one, it might sound a bit stupid saying it, but it would be just to hire professional people to do it because they will have gear like us. Yeah. Or hire us. But hire someone who has the professional gear.
Yeah.
And the know-how as well.
And the know-how, exactly. Yeah. It's not just all the gear and lots of ideas.
An idea. Yeah. I think that works well if you're doing something, big. Yeah. Valuable. We mentioned that for that client we did last week, it needed to be high quality, top tier stuff. Yeah. But if someone's wanting to do more user generated content and at scale,
if you want to do a little bit of like ad hoc user generated stuff, and you've not got the budget or anything to start investing in like gear and stuff, you could get yourself like a relatively like simple softbox or of something like Amazon. Yeah. And you could use that as your main fill, and then you could maybe position yourself by like some natural light.
Yeah. Nice big windows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that will help, that will help make you look much better than the classic just pointed camera at you. Yeah. Corner of a room or something like that.
And do a bit of research. You can look at, 3-point lighting and things like that. Yeah. Nice contrast ratios and stuff. Yeah. And it's, it might sound a bit of a foreign language, but it's relatively straightforward to understand. And you can see it. Yeah. Like it's quite quick you can see when it looks nicer.
Yeah. I don't know if the Android has something similar, but like iPhone's got cinematic mode, which gives you that kind of like depth of focus and stuff. Yeah. So you could do something like that as well to get that depth in the shot. You still need actual physical depth to get that depth of focus.
Separation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that will also help kind of make it a shallow depth of focus. So you will get that kind of like cinematic look, as it's called cinematic, obviously. Yeah. So that will also help a little bit. But then I guess it would just come down to like framing as well. We we had to correct a bunch of videos, didn't we, recently, or a couple of videos for a client, because they got someone else to shoot stuff for them.
Oh yeah.
And like the framing was really weird. So it looked like this like grown man was about 6 years old, because he was like just this like tiny little head poking over a table.
A giant lamp behind his head.
Yeah, everything felt a little bit Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So we had to like basically correct some stuff with that. Couldn't obviously correct the framing in post.
No.
But getting the framing right. So trying to keep stuff eye level. I guess just a big tip is just watch actual professional content.
Yeah.
Watch it critically and try and like take things away from it.
Yeah.
So how are they shooting it?
Yeah.
So if you look at these shots now, if you go onto our YouTube and look at the shots that we've got, like each of us will have like a relatively nice like kind of eye level shot where we're kind of framed from like chest up. It's not at a weird angle.
No, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not super close, so you couldn't punch in. In post, you might want to punch in every now and again to like hide cuts. So shoot a little bit wider potentially than you would.
Yeah. Shooting wide is always something that I think people miss out on, because it always makes things feel higher production value than it is. It's very easy just to, I mean, we do it as well. Like, you've got a room that's not super nice looking. You put a long lens on, shoot quite tight to hide as much of it as possible.
Yeah.
But, shooting that little bit wider helps it kind of feel like a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more professional.
Especially if you've done those earlier tips and you've created that separation, you've dressed the backdrop a little bit, and you get the right angle, then showing it is nice.
You might only have one phone if you're shooting on a phone, but get someone else's phone. You've got A cam, B cam. So then you've got cutting choices, and just having that A cam, B cam will help kind of like elevate your content a bit.
Yeah.
Again, I just want to say it just to be clear, like, again, try and get professional content, because you don't have to worry about any of this. And you might then be thinking, why am I listening to the podcast if we're not going to get these tips to do something ourselves? I think just knowing about all of these things, if you then have a project, you being more informed about how professional people do that service will help you plan it more as a person. You can then plan it. So before they even come into the situation, before they even like get contacted, you can start thinking about spaces you might want to film.
Yeah.
You don't need to be the person who films it, but if you've got more of a knowledge, more of like some context on how it's actually done properly, you'll be better suited to actually project manage this type of project for your own company.
It'll give you a vocabulary as well, so you can, talk to production people about things and understand what they're saying to you, and be able to explain your ideas or concerns and things to them as well.
And it also really helps with, if you've got a project that's really fast turnaround and you've got, you've done some of that legwork, or you know where you're heading beforehand, like that it helps you just hit that ground running and just get it off the ground.
And evaluation as well. Like, you need to know. A lot of people I say a lot of people, actually we're discovering not a lot of people, but some people have an intrinsic value of knowing what looks good and what doesn't. But then it's understanding why. So if you build up that knowledge base, you'll actually be able to give feedback, valuable feedback, to make things even better when you're receiving stuff and seeing things. But bring it back to A and B setup. Are there some guiding principles people should know? And, when could they ignore them if they need to ignore them?
For A cam, B cam.
A cam, B cam.
Framing and make sure sort of eye lines match.
Yeah.
So you don't want someone nice central, eyes at the top of frame sort of thing, and then the next one, eyes at the bottom of frame. Like, you want to make sure, whenever you cut to that other camera, that you're not having to dart around for the eyes. Because the first thing that you look for anyone, like in any human, your eyes go straight to someone's face and someone's eyes. So that needs to be
you always
more or less consistent.
You always say the eyes are the face, don't you?
All the time.
But no, it's a good point. And especially with social media and the rise of video content on there, it's fast paced and people are, they're scrolling and they're looking. So they don't want to be searching around the frame for it.
Yeah, I hate looking at my phone watching a video thinking, where are the eyes? And like, you spend half the video trying to find the fucking eyes, don't you? You're like, where are the eyes?
What are you watching? Are you on those sites again?
I think if you're doing an A and B as well, I think like I would go wider A, tighter on B. It's just a classic A/B shot. If you do the opposite, it can feel really weird, basically.
Yeah, you don't want them side by side, more or less as same focal length.
Unless there's a real like creative reason for doing it, then that's what I meant by know the principles. But because then you can understand if it's worth breaking them.
Yeah. Again, like watch some documentaries. Documentaries are great for that kind of like A/B setup. They'll have like C and D cams as well in there, where they'll have like funkier shots involved.
Did you see the Michael Jordan doc?
No.
Check out the behind the scenes. We'll put it on screen for anyone watching on YouTube. It's crazy. It's like a big rig, and it's got like 8 or 9 cameras on it.
Nice.
Just all like different angles. Yeah, it's crazy.
Just kept it on A cam for the edit as well.
I didn't use any of the other 8.
The others are just redundancy.
Yeah.
Okay, we've chatted framing, lighting a little bit, audio.
Yeah, it's always the forgotten one, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's strange because people will put up with bad image quality if the audio is good, but not the other way around with video, right?
Yeah, well, look at most like video podcasts now. Like obviously, most video podcasts the audio quality is pretty good, and then the video quality is like webcam quality most of the time.
Yeah,
and that's fine because a you're mostly listening to it. Well, you're watching it because it's video podcast.
It's an audio first
it's for the content
premium,
and as long as you can like hear the content properly.
Yeah,
and I'm saying that talking like I've got a cold, so I'm really muffled and snuffled. But as long as you can like hear the content properly, it's fine. Like the visual side, and it sounds daft, a visual marketing agency saying it. Visual side doesn't really matter as much. Yeah. Watch Blair Witch or something like that. Yeah. Video quality is mental.
Yeah,
but the audio is Hollywood standard, so it makes sense. So it makes sense. So it sounds good. It feels okay.
Yeah. My only rebuttal with that is YouTube have now overtaken Spotify as the place people go for their podcasts. So I think we will see a rise in quality there.
Oh, the quality is always going to get better, but still, like you watch, is it like Social Chain or something?
Yeah,
it's basically like webcam quality, but it doesn't matter because you're just there for the content.
Yeah. You take the video away, and you've still got the content.
Value.
It's still a.
But it is also because that makes sense with that. Exactly. It's with that thing. If we were then saying, oh, well, why don't we just have like Netflix documentaries just all shot on webcams or something? It doesn't quite make sense because the platform, the way that you're viewing it is different. Yeah. You're viewing a different kind of like, medium. Yeah. But for a video podcast, you don't have to go as extreme as we have with like a proper set and everything. No. We just do because we can. Yeah.
Well, with the videos then, you can't quite do what we said at the start with send us a photo, because I mean you can gauge from the photo that looks echoey if it's a big glass room or something where there'll be a lot of reverb. But even then you don't really know. But rooms generally with objects in are better, right? Carpeted rooms are better.
I think as well, just knowing where that room is in a building helps massively. So we did one the other week where it was next to a train track where trains or trams or something came past every 20 minutes or so. That was a problem. Yeah. And as well, it was right by the canteen of the entire building. So there's lots of footfall going, forward and back. Just, it was fine. We managed to walk around it, but knowing that beforehand and being able to suggest, could we do it somewhere else?
An alternative room for it,
it always helps.
On that shoot, I actually used a tip that you came up with, Drew, on another shoot, where it was to make sure it's contextualized, that background noise, because it's not distracting from the focus if you know why there's other noise. So that's why our C-cam on the day was nice and wide, where we could see people through those frosted glass walking through. So you're like, oh, the occasional footstep makes sense because they're in this busy hub, and it actually, it was all about employees coming together and talking more. So it all made sense for the video. And you did something similar with a live environment, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a shoot where there was just people walking around the camera non-stop, talking, yelling away. So we had a camera just showing them, basically.
Yeah. And, there's sometimes where noises get so loud they do interrupt. So you got to redo a little bit. But, it's part of the gig. Yeah.
We also have like very directional mics, so we can get around it quite a bit.
Yes, and good software in post for cleaning it up.
Yeah. Last resort though, I think get it right on the day.
Oh
yeah. So if you were doing it yourself, and if we're going back to like the DIY kind of like side to it, you can pick up like relatively cheap like lapel mics again off something like Amazon. Just that will
even if it goes into your phone,
go straight into your phone. Exactly. Yeah. So you could do something like that. That'll give you better audio than just going into the thing that you're talking to, because obviously there's less distance between you and the thing that's recording.
Yeah, typically you want the mic as close to the source as possible, don't you?
Yeah.
Because if you're using the mic on your phone, the phone's probably going to be
it does
3-4 feet away from you.
It does so much weird processing as well, with trying to boost voices but at a distance, but also reduce outside noise as well.
Yeah, it's kind of doing a lot of that post stuff on the fly and not doing it great.
Yeah, I would say with lapelling as well, don't worry about trying to hide it. It's not a Hollywood movie where you need to try and like skin tape. I think just have it out.
Don't hold it. You see that on TikTok all the time. It's like people holding it. No, just clip it on. Clip it on.
Yeah, buy two. Plug one in, use that clipped on, then hold one that isn't plugged in.
Yeah.
So then you get that TikTok vibe as well.
Yeah, I like it. Down with the kids. I mean, we could talk about this forever, but let's do some, rapid fire tips. What have you got?
So not really a video production one, but something that will get you prepped for video production is just to plan the content that you want to film.
Yeah.
Plan it really, really well. So one of the things that we often get with people is if they, let's say they lead like sessions, or they have like events or something, they have stuff basically where like lots of people are going to come and they want to film like an amount of those people, a certain amount of those people. Yeah. They will often think that, it's basically like the Million Monkeys eventually typing Shakespeare or something. Like if you film enough people, you're eventually going to get some really good sound bites.
Yeah.
Yes, you might get some good stuff. You might get some people who are amazing at being interviewed.
Yeah.
But knowing exactly what you want to get from them before you even start filming is the best way to ensure you're going to get it.
Yeah.
The people who are doing the interviews can then ask leading questions.
Yeah.
If they ask someone and they almost get an answer that they want, they can re-ask it. They can pry. They can say, could you mention something around this?
Yeah. I've facilitated loads, and the easiest way is ask questions, and you can tell people beforehand, like, we're looking for an answer around this subject. So you can ask the leading question, they can give it you back. And a big thing is if it goes long, like quite long, their answer, but it's good, then say, brilliant, let's do it one more time, and just paraphrase it. Just give us like, a 10-second version of that.
And the paraphrase thing is so important as well, because you're never really going to hear the person asking the question. Yeah. So let's say that you are going out now to like film something. Let's say you've got like an event, you've got an expo stand, you're going to film some people around it to create a little bit of content for yourselves, for your socials. People aren't, you're rarely going to hear the question being asked.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to paraphrase it.
Yeah.
So for instance, if the question was something like, what have you loved about today?
Today I've loved seeing all these wonderful people back out, that kind of thing.
Whereas you often get people just saying something like, the talks, you can't really use that much. You're going to have something to set that up.
Yeah.
Making sure that person's paraphrasing that question back. If you've got loads of people being interviewed and it is like an event or something like that, so you're going to have a bunch of people being asked the same question, as long as you've got 2 or 3 paraphrasing it, you're fine. But try and get everyone to paraphrase it.
Yeah, yeah.
We did a shoot a little while back where it was someone leading an interview, and it was like the questions were like, so what's your name? And rather than the person saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, they would just say, Emily.
Yeah.
And that would be it. And then it would be like, how long have you been coming here for? Rather than saying, I've been coming here for, it was just 2 years.
Yeah.
So the stuff you've got to use in the video is Emily, 2 years. Like, it's mental.
Doesn't work.
You can't use that.
Yeah. Unless you're making a hostage video.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think so. Just distilling that again, then it's getting people to paraphrase questions back if you're doing like interview setups. Knowing exactly what you want to get from interviews or just filming content. So then you can make sure you're going to get that rather than just kind of filming loads of stuff and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Know exactly what you're going to, but know exactly what you want to get, plan it all out beforehand.
Yeah.
And you are much more likely to succeed in getting that content.
And you get it done quicker as well. Like if you know what you're going for, you're not going to sort of spend half the time in the edit figuring out what you can make work. Like if you're more targeted with it, like it just makes the whole process like so much quicker.
Yeah, so much easier. And but the guided question's great as well, because it allows for that opportunity of something you haven't thought of that works well, but you just have to have an ear for it and spot that opportunity. But also do it within that contained environment so you can do it on time and you can do it nice and swiftly and efficiently, I guess, is the big thing. Especially if you're in an instance where you're trying to capture, 20 people's opinions on something.
Yeah.
So I think the final tip is sort of from a principle that you would use in traditional filmmaking, which is shoot for the edit. And what I mean in this sort of corporate marketing context is understand the content you're putting out.
Yeah.
And part of that will influence, how much you shoot. You should log it as you shoot so you're meeting that criteria depending on where you're putting the content at. So I guess we're talking duration feeds into that.
Yeah, we're jumping off the planning your content, knowing exactly what you want people to say. Yeah. It jumps into getting that kind of like, getting the durations down. One of the things you don't want to do is shoot, 6 hours worth of footage when you know the end goal is you want like a reel for Instagram.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to cut so much stuff out.
Yeah.
The flip side of it is if obviously you shot loads and loads of stuff, you could get loads and loads of reels out if that was the plan, for instance.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times we get people and we say we want to, cover, these 4 events. We want to condense it down into a 90-second show reel.
Yeah.
We can definitely do that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the times as well, it's a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
Where if you just knew what you wanted to get, if you wanted to shoot, like you say, shoot for the edit.
Yeah.
You can, pay the professionals less because it's fewer shoot days.
Yeah.
And you can get everything out quicker.
Yeah, you need to know what you want to get out of it. Like you say, like with that 90-second video, like why do you want it to be 90 seconds? Like, is that just like an arbitrary number, or is that actually going to work for what you're going to get?
Is it platform specific? Is that why you're going for that amount, or is it just like that like 90 seconds is a video that you've a video duration that you've seen a few times recently, or something like that? What is the point?
How long you think it is isn't always how long it should be. Like there's always a version of it that can be.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's a 2-minute video can fly by, and then a 30-second video can drag if it's not engaging.
Yeah, 100%.
Or catches you at the right place. It might not be on the right platform for it. And even if you're going to shoot more stuff, you can plan a series, but it's planned. And it's there for a reason. And sometimes the math just doesn't add up. We had it recently where they wanted 6 people interviewing. And it was like 17 questions per person. And they was like, this is to make a 60-second thing. And you're like, what are we doing? Just choosing one word from every person. It just didn't work out. So it just wasn't considered. They hadn't planned for the edit, basically.
Yeah. Super quick recap then of all the tips we've just gone through. Let's go. So we've got, let's shoot for the edit, plan the content you want to get, know exactly the kind of answers you want to get from people so you can give leading questions, get them to paraphrase things back to you so you've got more kind of more edit room, more leeway in the edit. You can use things in isolation as well. Look at your lighting. Obviously, if you're not hiring professionals to do stuff and you need to do stuff DIY, you can pick up some lighting gear, some audio gear off something like Amazon. Yeah. A little softbox for a fill would be great.
Or even a window and a reflector.
Even a window and a bounce, reflector, that would be great as well, if you're using like a little lapel mic, you can plug them into phones or iPads or anything like that directly. Yeah. Just get it as close to your mouth as possible.
Check out the room you're going to shoot in.
Yeah, 100%.
Try and create that separation from you to the object or subject to the background as well.
Yeah.
Do something with that background, make it look nice.
Yeah, don't rule out, as we saw, even very rushed, crappy printed, fake brick backdrops. Because with the right camera, use that depth of field that you mentioned that, mobile phones carry now. Use that because that'll make everything look a bit better anyway. And
then when all that fails, just realize you should have hired a professional.
Yeah. That is a good consideration because if you're trying to promote your new product or service that you've spent, hundreds of thousands on R&D and you want so many people to pay you a premium for this thing, you've got to give it the chance and the quality touch.
Yeah, you're going to spend a lot longer doing it yourself as well.
So, and then you're only going to go and hire a professional anyway, once you see the result.
Wasted some money, wasted some time.
Yeah. So this was basically like a 35-minute podcast just to get to the end and say, just hire professionals.
Yeah.
That's the TLDR, baby.